and welcome to Mimi's Sketchbook. Today my illustration was based on Paul David Tripp's devotional New Morning Mercies, and it is August 14th. And this is my granddaughter, and she is standing amongst some sunflowers. And in this picture, you really have to look carefully because the sunflowers are so tall, they're creating a dark shade underneath them. So she is almost hidden. The pandemic that has seemed to shut everything down for the past 6 months was actually an opportunity for many people to dive into gardening. Now, my oldest daughter has been gardening for many years and has landscaped several homes, and in the past few years has been doing some vegetable gardening. But this year, it was like she was on a mission, and everything was ramped up. She redesigned her garden and put in raised beds and also trellises that her vegetables could grow up and over. And then she also looked into the no-till gardening and established a whole great big area of flower gardens and also areas where she could plant squash and pumpkins and other type of vining vegetables that needed lots of space. And she was especially excited about some areas she had designated for sunflowers. So she did get some of her seeds locally and from big name brand seed catalogs, but she also found growers on Etsy and had seeds coming in from all over the country and without her knowing it, from around the world, and some of those shipments took quite a while. But she also set up a room with grow lights and had all of her seeds growing in this grow room, and they just took off and were lush. I've never done that, but I'll tell you, her results were impressive. So I think I might get some grow lights this winter. So she lives in another state, and so we keep in touch, and she would keep me up to date on what was happening in the garden. And one day she called, and she was so disappointed because some deer had come through her garden and had eaten all of her sunflowers. Today, in his devotions, Paul Tripp talks about mercy. And he says, I love the words of Lamentations 3. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercy never come to an end, and they are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And then he goes on to say, not only does God lavish on you love that will never cease and grace that will never end, and not only is he great in faithfulness, but the mercy he extends to you and to me is renewed each new morning. It is not tired, stale, irrelevant, worn out, ill-fitting yesterday mercy. No, God's mercy is new morning mercy. And that is the name of his devotions that I am following. And it is so encouraging every day to hear that good news. Well, you might be wondering, if the deer came and ate all the sunflowers, where did those sunflowers come that are in the picture? Well, believe it or not, even though the deer chomped those sunflowers down, they grew back. And look how big they grew. I have a very informal kind of row chart on my wall that when my grandkids come to town, I have them stand up against the wall and I measure how tall they are. So I have my one granddaughter that's in this picture. I have her height from December. At that time, she was 50 inches tall. And the sunflower that she's holding on to, I measured her in comparison to the height of the sunflower, and it is more than twice her height. So that sunflower is almost 8.5 feet tall. And that wasn't even the tallest one in the pictures. So here these sunflowers had been eaten, but they grew back and to over 8 foot tall. Now, in comparison to the great sadness that people go through and are just in desperate need of God's mercy to get them through a morning, I'm not comparing these sunflowers to that, but I'm just going to use them as a little example of God's mercy. We thought these flowers had been lost, but they grew back. And they already, the smallest one there is over 8.5 foot tall. And that one's in bloom. And the others haven't bloomed yet, so they're still growing. I told my daughter, they're so tall, they look like something out of a fairy tale, like Jack and the Beanstalk. But this is the picture I want to leave you with. One of God, the master gardener, who can get plants that were chopped to the ground to grow and to continue growing, who knows how tall, as he faithfully pours out his living water on them, just like he generously pours out his mercy on us. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. So thank you for joining me today at Mimi's Sketchbook. I hope this was an encouragement to you. And if it was, you might consider sharing this message with someone else who just might need to hear a little story about some sunflowers. So thank you, and God bless.